This presentation will kind of walk you through a little bit of what to think about before you start the simulation, to kind of pull together the last couple of weeks of what we've been talking about so that you have a sense of how to move forward. Okay, so remember we talked about the purple cow. You still want to be that purple cow. You want to make a difference. Now with the simulation, there will already be material to use. You won't be creating the actual material, but you can create hashtags in real time posts if you choose. So the social listening sort of aspect is still viable because the data for the simulation comes from a live bag company. So although this is a fake company that we are talking about in our simulation, it does come from a real company. So you can go out in the real world to find information that maybe would apply appropriately to the different target markets. So remember that you don't want to just put in their face what's happening. You want to be that purple cow. So we're going to talk about this a ton more at the end of the semester when you start developing your own social media content. But this is still important for this simulation. So we're treating our customers like VIPs. We're looking at what do they value, what are their interests, and what are the priorities. And some of that is given to you in your target market customer profile. So that is in the simulation, but I've also put a copy of it in Blackboard if you want to look at it in 2 windows. Because when you're doing the simulation, if you get out of your post, it deletes things when you're going back and forth between the information. So either have 2 windows open, one that has a simulation information and one that has a simulation for post, or bring up the PDF that I provided so that you can have them side by side. So it tells you what they value or what are their interests, what gets them out of bed. And so if you were to meet them at a dinner party, what would you talk about? Look at those interests, look at what they're doing, and try to connect with that, because remember, when you engage in social media yourself, you're engaging with people that you know or activities that you like. So for example, if I'm a photographer, I have friends that may or may not be photographers, but there's probably a whole host of different sites that deal with photography that I can connect with on people that I may not have a personal relationship with, but I have this interest that we talk in the online world about. So that can apply to your company. And then priority. If you gave them $1,000, what would they do with it? Can you extrapolate from what's given, or can you do some social listening to see if you have a person with a target market, let's say for back to school Molly, what is she doing with her money? What are you doing with your money? You just come back to school, you're in that target market, what's happening? So think that through very cautiously. Look for some keywords for your hashtags that would connect very nicely with these individual consumers. Notice that you have different consumers for different levels, so not everybody's looking for the same type of purchase or even have the same interests. So again, we're looking at demographic, geographic, psychographic, and product-based uses. Clearly, we don't have the detail that you will later on, but you do have the demographics. You're given their age, their gender, and their income. You're giving the psychographic what they're interested in, and you can extrapolate from that with the product-based uses. So going back to our back-to-school Molly, if she's going back to school, she needs to have a utilitarian sort of product, but she may not want it to look that way. You know, if she's making not a lot of money, she doesn't want to spend a lot, so things like sales may speak to her. So really look and do some research before you just go out and make some posts. So as our back to school Molly shows, we have some interests. Now these interests are just what she's interested in. They're not hashtags. Can you move them to hashtags? You certainly can. But will the hashtag speak to her directly, or do you have to be more creative? Those are things you're going to learn as you move through the different rounds of this simulation. So there are 2 rounds of the simulation that you're going to play this week. So the first round, all odds are where you are going to make posts, and evens are where you're going to look and analyze your data. So round 1, you have 300 different posts to choose from. So the Buhai supply company has decided that they are either going to pay for their own photography, or they have somebody in-house that they use. So there's different costs to the different posts, and that's development cost. That's not the cost to actually post and boost them on different social media. So those are 2 separate things. So in this case, there's a cost to development. And then you're going to move to what I have a screenshot below of where do you want to post. Do you want to post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube? You can decide the different posts that you want to have. Now remember that posting on these does not cost money. If you want to promote it, it does cost money. And look at the instructions. It will walk you through step by step of how much money it costs or what the cost per click is to do the different social media types. Something that is not true to form in this activity that we'll learn later on is we are using this format like a Buffer or Hootsuite, where you can create content and put it on multiple platforms, and you can assign times it goes out, and it's really kind of slick. And we'll play with that not only in the simulation, but at the end of the semester. The only problem with it is Instagram. You can go ahead and you can assign something to go to Instagram, and you can time it to go out on a certain day, but Instagram won't automatically post until you go into the app on that day and tell it to post. There is a manual feature in Instagram that this does not happen in the simulation. So just so you know, but everything else you can in the real world put together all of your posts on a Monday and then have them timed out through the rest of the week how you want them to go. Now remember, we are doing a simulation, and this is what you would do again in a Hootsuite or a Buffer where you are planning it out. But that's not the end of your social media platform. You also are going to be responsible for watching what are people responding to, what's happening in the real world that you might have to put a post out in between. You have to reply to comments, or maybe getting some conversation going, putting some comments out there. So this is only one piece of the social media pie. And you'll see that after you're done with your post, part of the analysis will be to look at a customer comment and respond. So in round 2, you're going to analyze your analytics. And this is the greatest part of the simulation, and why we decided to go with a simulation this semester is because you'll find when you develop your own content and you put your own information out there, we don't have enough time to generate the analytics. And the analytics is where we're hearing from our advisory committee is so important that our students need to understand. So you'll see in this case, this is my Facebook analytics, and you can go through Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and it tells you things like awareness, engagement, how much money you make, where the reaction, the comments, where you can look at impressions, clicks, shares, page like. You get a lot of information. So you're going to look at this information and you're going to see, hey, was this a good plan? Am I doing a good job? Am I posting at the right times? Am I posting in the right area? Or am I making some connections between my target market? And then you'll see at the top where it says questions, you will have to answer those questions on analyzing all of this information. You will see the course ratings. At the end of the week, I'll pull those course rankings out, and you will be assigned a grade based on where you are at with your course rankings. Now, if you missed the week and you did not post, you will not get any points for that week, even though you can go in if you want and make it up. The idea is that it's a lost opportunity. If I'm sick for a week and I don't post anything for my business, I can't go back in time and post. I've lost that opportunity. So you do need to be in there for all of the weeks, or you will not get a grade. So just to be clear on that, make sure you're looking at the grading sheet because that's so important. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. The simulation itself is pretty easy and intuitive to do the steps. What's not always easy and intuitive is how you're connecting the dots in the post. So don't just go out there and post stuff without doing some research first, because that could be that you're spending money or a lot of time and missing opportunities that you could have had if you've made more of a connection with your target market. So good luck, and I'm anxious to see the results.